Excellent. Thank you.
All right.
And we have Mary Casesso coming on.
Hi, Julie. Hi, everyone.
Hi,
Mary.
nice to see you.
Thank you. Same here. Happy New Year.
So I would like to go over more.
And you have me. I'm Denise.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I was like, why do I need to introduce her to Beverly? Beverly knows who that is.
Assistant Program Director for MOAR. Thank you, Beverly, for showing up and being our speaker tonight. I'm excited.
So the mission statement for MOAR is to organize recovering individuals, families, and friends into a collective voice to educate the public about the value of recovery from alcohol and other addictions. Then we have our DEI statement. Massachusetts Organization for Addiction Recovery is a voice for all people seeking the benefits of recovery. We are committed to doing the work necessary to address the struggles, inequities diverse groups of people face while seeking recovery services. Systematic racism, prejudice, bias have been deeply ingrained in the history of the American health care system. MOAR is committed to work to create a collective voice for those seeking recovery for all people who have been historically underserved and marginalized and oppressed. And we have our speaker. Her name is Beverly Parham. Okay, give me 1 minute. And Beverly Parham has LADAC. KDAC has been the director of the Family Access and Housing for the Institute for the Health and Recovery, IHR, since 2013. Beverly is a part of the Access team that provides access to family residential treatment and sober living programs. In her role, she oversees family access and provides capacity building and technical assistance to the 8 family residential treatment programs and 3 sober living programs. She maintains a working relationship with the Department of Public Health and Bureau of Substance Addiction Services, the Department of Children and Families, and other collaterals in the coordinating of care for family. She brings years of professional experience working with diverse clients and families who are impacted by addiction, mental health, criminal justice involvement, and economic disparities. Ms. Parham was program director for the Spectrum Women and Children's Program for 10 years, providing substance use treatment to incarcerated pregnant and parenting women who were released or paroled to the program. She also was a substance use counselor for the Worcester County Sheriff's Office, provided substance use education, case management, and counseling for incarcerated men at the House of Correction. She is licensed alcohol drug counselor and a certified alcohol and drug counselor, certified by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And Beverly Parham is a wife, mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and a woman of faith and long-term recovery. She is also a survivor of homicide, which has impacted her life in 2017 after losing her son to gun violence. He left 3 children who did not have a place to explore their grief in the therapeutic way. Beverly has navigated through her grief by becoming an advocate for peace, participating in the Mother's Walk for Peace annually. In 2019, Beverly turned her pain into a purpose by birthing a 501c3 nonprofit organization called Children Healing by Expression, the Dennis Parham Project, in memory of her son. The organization provides a safe, trusting space for families, children to come together to honor their loved ones in a variety of art projects, share stories, cultivate hope, bond through mutual loss, and build peaceful neighborhoods, helping children and families develop a powerful community of healing support. Beverly has Beverly has many supports in the community who are striving for the same goal of interrupting the cycle of community violence through healing the heart and nurturing our children who are future leaders. And we have two more people now. Oh, okay, Scott.
Good evening, everybody, and I can't wait to hear Beverly tonight. Sunshine Scotty, truly great to be a person in long-term recovery, and I love working at MOAR. Recovery is real. Thank you, Julie.
And we have Daryl.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Dal Wright. I'm a recovery coach at MOAR. Been there since 2016, and I wouldn't have missed tonight for the world. I know Beverly.
So, okay, without any ado, I just want to remind everyone that this is being recorded. So, Beverly.
Hi, Julie. Hey, my bio spoke for itself, so I can just put the other little pieces together. I want to say thank you for having me. Denise, thank you for inviting me. And it's always a pleasure to just share my story, but most of all, share how I had made connections in the community and continue to strive for a specific purpose. Like most people, I come from a background. I grew up in the urban city of Boston. My mother was a single parent. And as a result of that, I attended Boston Public Schools. And, you know, there was always a strive that I had to be better than where I came from. And so having that desire and that motivation to be better than where I came from, I saw people of color becoming law enforcement officers, you know, and that was a direct result of the Civil Rights Act. They became law enforcement, and I was like, I can do that too. And I became a police officer for the city of Boston in 1982. I actually was a cadet from 1979, became a police officer in 1972. And I saw a lot of disparities. I was even impacted by the lack of equality, because back then, you know, women were basically not allowed to be in a man's position. And so being a person of color made it even more of a struggle to be equal. And I did that job for 19 years, and I retired in 1996. And that's when I came into recovery. And my recovery date is June 29th, 1997. And so I left the Boston area and I moved to Worcester, Mass, where, you know, I was able to get clean. And as a result of that, I realized that there was so much more. Like I found myself being stuck in a small, you know, perimeter of the city as a result of, you know, my substance use. And I was not able to move past, you know, because of the progression of the disease of addiction, I wasn't able to move past that street corner. And so when I went to Worcester and I, you know, surrendered, so to speak, and, you know, kind of gave myself a break, I was able to take advantage of opportunities that I had. And one of the chapters of my life I had to make amends to and to put closure on was working for the police department. I had a friend who passed away as a result of a DUI. He was drinking, he got drunk, and he died in a car accident. And so I had to go to his funeral. And at his funeral, I was able to face all those men and women who I worked with at the police department. And I was able to hold my head up with dignity because, you know, I had, in the end, I couldn't show up for work anymore. And so there was a level of pride, but also, I was humbled to finally be able to put some closure, on that part of my life. And that's when I really started venturing out and, going back to school. I was homeless in the very beginning. Eventually I got a key, because that's what we get, when we stay clean, we're able to get a key. And I got a key. And with that key, I was able to get the things that we get when we stay clean. And so, with that being said, I started, working for organizations, behavioral health organizations, well-known organizations in the Worcester area, like Spectrum Health Systems, Community Health Link, the Willis Center. There was so many other agencies that I worked for. Eventually, I outgrew those agencies, but I took advantage of the opportunities that I had, and those opportunities allowed me to advance, in my career, but advance, in my life. And, I wanted to become initially, and I think we all do want to become, a substance use counselor, or we wanted to, help other recovering addicts or other people who don't have the benefits that we have. And as a result of having those kind of relationships and working with, addicts who, came from the same place that I came from, there was a reinforcement, that I had that showed that, I was able to help somebody else. And it was just, something small, something really small that they could say to me that made me feel good because I was able to give them something. And it was giving back what was freely given to me. And so that's what I did for many, many years. And then, I was offered to go back to school. I went to Westfield College, and as a result of going there, I was able to attend the addiction counseling course. And that's how I was able to get my license, which is the LADC. And I also was able to get the certification, which is the CADC. I've learned a lot in this process. I've learned, being a woman of color, having a voice sometimes, for me, I'm very direct and I try to speak what I think or what I feel. And it was not always like that. Like when I worked at the Worcester County Sheriff's Office, and I worked there from 2009 to 2013. And I was the only woman of color in that particular house of correction. There was no one else that looked like me. There were a few men of color that were COs or correctional officers, but I was the only woman of color. And I felt used by the sheriff's office because they used me on their webpage, and like they were promoting diversity because they had a woman of color, and now that woman of color was on the team, and she was able to bring that sense of diversity, which really wasn't diverse because you're only talking about one person of color, and it was a tough job. It was a tough job because, it was territorial. And as a result of it being territorial, I had to be really careful of the boundaries that were already in place, not to overstep, a boundary with anyone else, especially a person who wasn't like me. And I've learned throughout the years on how to navigate. Like you learn how to navigate, the social norms, or you learn how to navigate society, being a person of color, and one of the things I always pride myself is that no matter what color you were, like color didn't really have any meaning to me. There was always a level of respect, right? A level of respect that I always had for someone who didn't look like me. So I was able to walk the fence and be able to feel comfortable on either side. And so I pride myself in that because, you know, a lot of women or a lot of people who look like me have a hard time doing that. And as a result of that, it's a level that it keeps you stuck or it keeps you, you know, in that place where you come from, and you're not able to move out, or you're not even able to think about anything different. And so, you know, I always prided myself on that because, you know, I was able to, you know, make moves and to move and to, you know, advance, you know, in the world. And so I left the Worcester County Sheriff's Office in 2013, and that's when I was hired by the Institute for Health and Recovery. And so I've been there, it'll be 11 years to next month. And I need to say, like, that agency is an agency that is really relational. Like, you know, I've been in places where, you know, it was a hard time you didn't feel a part of, right? And you didn't feel a part of, you know, because maybe it's the color of your skin, or maybe, you know, you didn't look like those that you work with. And, you know, sometimes it feels like, you know, and it's not all the time, that, you know, people can be condescending and they can, you know, look down on you or even talk down on you, you know, and try to make you feel less than, because, you know, we go back to the privilege, right? We talk about the privilege. And so, you know, for me, I had to, and I think, you know, I think my higher power, God, and my understanding. I just think, you know, the powers that be, that I had the ability to, you know, stand up and you know, be equal to whoever it is that I'm working with, feel confident just like, you know, anyone else, and be able to, you know, do the work that needs to be done in order for the help to be given. And so I'm in a place now where, you know, I'm being of service, like being of service to, you know, the underprivileged, you know, like the homeless ones, or the ones who are addicted, you know, the ones that need some guidance. Or how about just an example, right? An example, just, you know, if I can do it, you can do it too, you know, but also too, you know, have a passion for it. Like, have a, you know, a non-judgmental, you know, a non-judgmental heart, because when I look through my lens and I see you, I have to remember I was you, or I am you. You know, there's no big eyes or little U's, and there's no, you know, big difference between, you know, me or you. And you know, it's like when you get older, you start growing old gracefully, and you start maturing, and you know, you just don't think and do the things that you used to do. You know, and I'm in a place now where I'm in my senior years. And so as a result of being in my senior years, it's just like I don't practice, you know, things that I practiced when I was younger, you know, and my life is so much better. And I need to say, and I didn't talk about this, but I was impacted by a homicide. In 2017, I had moved back to Boston because I got hired by IHR in 2013, and the commute from Worcester to Boston was just, it was horrendous. And it was just something that, you know, I could not, it just like took all my time on the commuter rail, and, you know, parking. It was just, and it would cost a lot of money. And so I came back to Boston because my office was in Cambridge. 2017, July 15th, 2017, my son was murdered. And so that was something that I've never, like, I've always heard it on the news. I've always, heard of other women losing their children, and I just never imagined it would happen to me until that night that I got the call. And then I became a member of a club that I never, ever thought I would join. And there were other women that were just like me, and they also had the same experience. And what we've learned to do is, as a result of being a member of this club, we've learned how to survive, the trauma of, losing a son, but also or a daughter, but also we were able to support each other. And so I recognized like there was nothing for my grandchildren, because my son left 3 children. And, it's like, okay, what can I do to give these children the opportunity or a place to be able to, explore their own grief, because it was coming out in school. It was coming out at home, and they were just, in so much pain. And so I came up with this nonprofit that I have now. And it's called Children Healing by Expression, the Dennis Payan Project. And I've been and I birthed it in 2019, and it's 2024. And we're still servicing families in the community. The goal is hopefully to work with other agencies to interrupt the cycle of community violence. But I've also witnessed the injustices, of young Black and brown men, in the court system, the criminal justice system. My son, was part of that. And there was, so much that he had to go through just to, because of the color of his skin, But as a result of, everything that I've been through, I've learned how to turn my pain into purpose. I've been able to, make amends for, anything that I wasn't able to, follow up with, or, that I've caused harm to, because that's what the program tells us to do. I'm in a place in my life today where I have peace. We lose family members. I just lost a sister, and she was my first best friend with cancer. And she was my only sister, and she was my baby sister. And so we learn how to navigate life. And I truly believe there's a purpose as to why I'm still here, because that could have been me, and so as a result of me still being here, I recognize I do have a purpose. And so I do my best, I'm committed to, my faith community, I'm committed to the community that I live in. I'm committed to the families that I serve, and I also am committed to the underprivileged ones, because I have to provide a service to them too. Recovery, I couldn't have asked for anything more. I mean, we work hard to get back, what we lost, but sometimes what we lost may not be as good as what you get when you stay sober. I have to say that, all the things that I lost back then, I have no regrets, because obviously they were meant for me to lose them in order for me to see what I lost and then to have something better. And I truly believe that, it has to do with my higher power too, but it also has to do with my commitment. My commitment to my community, my commitment, to society. What else can I say? I just love recovery. I love being of service. Um, Life, it's a beautiful thing. Despite what's going on, despite what's going on around us, recovery teaches us how to stand firm when the wind blows hard, stand firm when, the foundation is crumbling, lean on each other, ask for help, and just know that I'm not alone, you know. So yeah, that's my story.
Thank you. Thank you, Beverly.
Thank
Thank you
you,
so much.
Beverly.
Thank you.
Yes.
So that was great. We do have a couple more people that came on while you were speaking. We have Anne Marie. Anne Marie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Anne Marie. Thank you, Beverly. Thank you. Thank you. You
I
just,
am Marie.
it's so good to hear you, to see you. Thank you, Marianne Moore. um, I'm just really grateful to partake and to be here to learn, to listen. There were some things, Beverly, I didn't even know that you were actually doing. And it's just a blessing to find that out because I am big on a healthy collaboration. And, that there's the work you're doing is so needed within our community, as you already know. But it's really great to be able to bring that into the workplace. And this is not my time, but I just want to mention I'm here volunteering, but I'm here through Boston Healthcare for the homeless. And just to identify what you just said, I am not the only woman of color at Boston Healthcare for the homeless, but I am one of the only one that's true enough to myself that I'm okay to expose where I'm from, who I am, and what I represent. And as I'm a couple years with Boston Healthcare for the homeless, they have allowed me to take the avenue out to learn more in terms of JEDI. And not too long ago, I've just recently been informed with the DEI. So now I am trying to push that forward with the team inwards so that we could share that, or you guys can share that knowledge, wealth, and information so more people can have a resource and an outlet and some help, as you were so gracefully provided with some help. And so that's all I wanted to say. Thank you so much, Beverly, for your gentle way of putting things, your order of how you put it. You were able to simplify that someone as complicated as I am and someone who can miss the mark had time to write down what I could, so that I'm able to collaborate with you so we could even move forward with touching other people. And thank you.
And then we have Tina.
Oh, I apologize. I came in at the tail end, but it was, oh my goodness, it was just what the doctor ordered. And Beverly, it's, if for those who don't know, you've always done service. You've always been of service in one capacity or another. And, forgive me because I need to be a little transparent. Sometimes I have a hard time going the extra mile if the paycheck's not involved, but it's about community and it's about collaboration and it's about helping that next person because at the same time I end up helping myself. So I just want to say thank you. And I don't know all of what you do, but I apologize for being late. I had made a stop and kind of mismanage my time. But you've always been about service and with services, it's a thankless job. And so you being on this platform, I just want to say thank you to because I do volunteer work with healthcare under healthcare for the homeless under Anne Marie. because she's done a lot of communities behind the scenes kind of thing. I'm always a cheerleader for the underdog. And so if we got people that's, just trying to do the right thing, even if it's, may not create a lot of change, but that I always just believe that one or two people can make a major difference and so I just wanted to say thank you, and thank you for that push, Anne Marie. And I'm so glad that I came. And that's I'm being sincere and honest. And I love you. Every time I see you, I'm happy. I'm always happy to see you. And you just look you just look beautiful, like fresh money right there. Huh? I gotta go. Let me get off this. Okay.
Gina, thank you so much for joining us. It's really nice to see you. I'm going to turn it over to Leah.
Oops. Beverly, first that it was an honor and a humbling experience to hear you speak. And I'm sure that that's probably what you talked about, and your bio and everything that preceded that is probably only 1/10 of what you actually do. So I think there's so many things that resonated with me, and I think the main thing for me is passion, because you can't do any of this without passion. And where the passion comes from for each of us is different. And sometimes it changes, during the journey. Whether it's being with the police department and seeing that, you're not really there, or experiencing trauma and loss and grief, or whether it's seeing that you've accomplished what you wanted to accomplish in a certain area and now you're ready to move to the next step. But you're extremely gracious, and you're so calm, because I'm just not that person all the time, and I need people like you around me. Because I am nuts, okay? But so that was like really helpful. I was like, yeah, let me just chill here and listen because she's chilling me. So thank you so much. And yeah, thank you. And I would love to get to know you more. I don't know how I missed that one, but I'm grateful. So is there anyone else that would like to share? And
Well, for a long time I worked for a lot HIR, you worked for HIR, and I worked for a lot of their services. And I used to always hear, like, when something would happen or we would need something, they'd be like, oh yeah, call Beverly. And no matter what, they would be like, call Beverly. And I remember thinking, not that Beverly lady, she knows if it had to do with payroll, anything. I'm like, that lady Beverly, she knows a lot. And then when I figured out it was you, I was like, oh, Beverly. But I was like, man, that lady Beverly, she knows everything. But I wonder, when you said that you worked at the police department, did you get to see like the bias side by side when they were out like working amongst other people? Did they
Yes,
show?
I did.
Okay.
What stood out for me the most was that, we had to fight to have a voice because first of all, it was male dominated. Secondly, there was not a lot of people of color. And so affirmative action would kind of open the door, as a result of that. And, with the biases that, we seen, right in front of us. But also, it was a learning curveball too, and that was the very beginning of me, building that bridge, so to speak, between me and them. But then it became, not just me and them, it became us. Because I wasn't going anywhere. I was going to stay steadfast in a position that I really and truly love. But eventually, as we all know about the progression, I couldn't show up anymore for it. And so the best thing that I could do was just to step down. And so I did that. And it was unfortunate because, we tell ourselves these misbeliefs, and I was like, oh, in 5 years, I got 5 years and I could still go back. In 5 years, I could have possibly killed myself if I would have stayed out there that long, But then when I did go back, like the peace, the dignity that I had, regained and, the integrity that I was able to stand in front of all of them with my head high. And now they saw me differently.
That's great. So it came full circle.
And you
Mary?
weren't alone.
Oh,
Yeah.
You
I
weren't
know.
alone. You just had the guts to stand up. But trust me, you were not alone in that circumstance.
Marianne?
Oh, you're absolutely right.
Marianne?
Well, thank you, Beverly, for sharing your passion, and having gone through, so much pain. And as Leah says, you say it so peacefully, but I can just see, it's like that march inside of you. We're moving on. We're going to take care of this. We're moving on. And I through this, I'm thinking about how sometimes I used to meet with Katie Portis, who was a leader, and supportive of women's family. Eventually, she was the director of recovery services, back, when, and this was in the mid 2000s, like 2005, and it was when the OxyContin and the heroin was emerging and mothers were arising, but you could see it was mostly the white mothers. And then she just turned to me and she said, our boys just die of gun violence. And and then it hit me. And it hit me hard. So I really applaud you in a very big way for, as you said, turning your pain and then helping your grandchildren. That is so amazing, and so many of the grandchildren that need that support.
Anyone else?
Um,
Yeah.
Beverly, thank you so much. I knew you were going to be fantastic, because I just know everything that you do and everything that you stand for. And yeah, Marianne, I don't get me started because I'll be out here blubbering too. But I've never, and haven't yet, through the grace of God, I haven't lost a child. And I know a lot of women who have, and you're one of them, and I can just only imagine what that would feel like. But I think the good thing is that you're paving the way for folks, especially for women, that if that were to happen, I would know exactly who to pick up the phone and reach out to. But Julie said something about full circle, and I just wanted to, because I know you don't give yourself all the credit that you should, but there's a couple of other things that you do, and I don't think you mentioned it. You do an annual walk, right? That you didn't mention. Can you mention that?
Sure. So there's an annual walk. It's on Mother's Day. And all those survivors who were just like me, we come together, with other agencies and other entities and so many other people that, want to see the cycle of community violence interrupted, who want to see peace in our community. And we do this annual walk. And we used to walk all the way to City Hall, from Fields Corner, if you know Fields Corner in Dorchester, all the way to City Hall. And then we started walking from Fields Corner all the way to, they changed it. And then we went to Madison and back up to Eggleston. But it's an annual walk that happens every year. And I get out there, and me and my team, I got a big giant banner of my son, and we just walk. And we walk, to show camaraderie and, for the mission of peace.
We have
Thank you, Denise.
Corey.
You're welcome.
Corey,
Yes, hi, thank you. Beverly, I really just wanted to thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share your story. And I have known somewhat about you just from previous career choices of mine, practicing law, sort of cross paths in some various other ways. But I really wanted to just take a really quick moment to thank you for sharing your pain, and thank you for sharing your experience in loss. I don't want to take a lot of time. However, I do want to just to say that I recently experienced a loss of my own, and that had to do in the community with my granddaughter, my 10-year-old granddaughter, who, along with her biological other grandmother, were murdered here in Springfield by gun violence. And the reason I mention that is because the other victim in that, and I've said this from every time I tell the story, is the young African-American Hispanic man who was the shooter, who was a victim of the system. And you talk a lot about that and the disparity and the inability to get the help that they want. And I say his name is Victor. And Victor deserves that recognition because Victor was a victim of the system. A lot of what you talk about the skin tone and the disparity within the system and the punishment versus rehabilitation. And with that, I really thank you for just being a voice out there for people of color, because it's profound, and not everybody who does something is bad. In fact, they're the victim of the systemic racism. So I just say thank you from the bottom of my heart.
thank you, Corey, for that perspective too. We don't, usually think that, but yeah, that's great.
Mhm.
We have Mary.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to add my gratitude and accolades to you. Just amazing, the breadth and the fortitude, but with that peaceful voice, you put me in this like very relaxed mood, and nothing you talked about was relaxing. Those were all tough. To be on a police force as a woman of color. And, I related to some of it, because like yourself, I'm an older adult. And I remember when you had to wear dresses when you worked, you couldn't even choose what you looked like. So if you were at all different, be pushed to conform. But you didn't. But I can tell you were gracious to everyone. And just like, is it Carrie who just spoke? Realizing that, people that perpetrate too have not had the support, a criminal justice system that turns people into criminals and gives them no alternative. But your kindness and brightness and commitment was real therapeutic tonight. Thank you.
I'll go on and I'll add that thank you very much, Beverly. I was touched when I started touching in corners. I was almost moved to actual tears. And thank you for your honesty and your articulation. And you are shining, and please continue to shine and touch others in your walk. Thank you very much.
Does anyone have any questions for Beverly or?
I'm sorry, if you don't mind, I'm really I'm sorry. Was I supposed to get picked by the hand or something? I didn't want to just jump in like that.
That's okay, go ahead. I
Okay,
asked,
my
I said.
apologies. I just wanted to know exactly what is it exactly that you're doing, Beverly? Just a short version of it, like, because I see more and just different things are involved. So I'm interested in what it
So
is.
are you speaking to what I'm doing now?
Yeah, yes, please.
Okay. I'm the Director of Family Access and Housing for the Institute for Health and Recovery. And so I provide access to substance use treatment for women and children and for families. Pregnant and postpartum women are priorities. So we provide placement. Sometimes, now we're called the Women and Family Referral Center. So that's a new name for myself and my team. And we work towards getting people into treatment that are looking to go into treatment and creating a pathway to recovery, because there are multiple pathways, whatever way anyone wants to go, that's their freedom to refer or to suggest, and we just, be the providers, and we pave the way for them. So I've been in my role for 11 years next month.
Beverly, oh, did someone else want to go? How many programs are there out there for, women with children who are, with DCF and who are in recovery? How many programs are there left?
So there is now, we had Angel House, which was in the Southeast, and then we had Genesis 2, which was in Newton. So those two programs closed. So we still have 6 programs, 6 family residential treatment programs, and that's including Sage House, which provides service for men. And that's men and their partner, single dads.
So
And then we have supportive living. It's a family supportive living program, which is the next step from residential, and that's more so towards families gaining independence, becoming self-sufficient, and the hope is that they will eventually move into their own permanent housing.
So the one for men, they can move in with their being DCF involved? Is that correct?
As long as the department is willing to provide a letter of reunification, yes.
And then do you know why the Genesis and the other house closed?
They closed because staff shortages. It just seems like the pandemic has definitely changed how services are being provided. And then also too, a shortage of staff everywhere. And so that was one of the reasons that Genesis 2 closed. The Angel House in Hyannis, they were more of a housing agency opposed to a treatment agency. So they eventually went back to what they represent, which is housing. So
Thanks. Now, Marianne, are you frozen?
No, I'm just
Oh, okay.
awestruck. No. Speaking of the housing, we've been longtime advocates of family residential, but I think you hit on something really significant with the staff shortages. We hear all over the place that there's a need, but you have to have the staff in order to support the need. And just as you said, there's a staffing issue all over the place. So, and I know Middlesex Human Services opened up a program, but did they open up a family shelter or? or can you explain a little bit about that?
So they opened a family supportive living program. And so that is the next step down from a structured residential treatment program. And so that is a program where a family can move into that meets the criteria. And that criteria is that they have a minimum of 6 months sobriety and working with a provider in the community. And they can move into, it's called Brookford House. They can move into Brookford House and they can live in that program for up to 2 years. And the hope is that the next move or the next transition would be into permanent housing.
So with those levels, there's the family shelters, there's family treatment, and then you talked about family housing.
Family supportive living, yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, the shelters are through DHCD.
Okay.
So a person would need to go to their DTA office and they need to qualify for emergency assistance. And that is usually done. You have to meet the criteria of homelessness. Homelessness is living in inadequate placement or being homeless. I think it's at least 3 times in 3 years. And you have to have documentation of that. It's not like the old days where you could just go and say, I'm homeless, and they put you somewhere.
Right.
You have to now, show that you meet the qualifications or the criteria of different levels of service in order to get the service. They're not giving anything away anymore.
No. So we have to do what Julie was saying before, go see Beverly if you need family housing.
Yeah,
Well,
I
you
mean,
know what?
everybody would say, call Beverly. And I'd be like, man, that lady Beverly, she does a lot.
Well, I definitely will, give you the support and guidance in any way I can. And hopefully the outcome will be a success.
Yeah. Very good.
So the house that you said is the step down, I'm sorry, I forget the name of it.
Brookford House?
Yeah, do you get like a studio or is it?
No, it's still congregate setting. It's
Okay.
just like, if you were, it's just like the shelters. You get a room, but it's a shared living room space, shared kitchen, shared bathroom, depending on how many people are on the same floor. But it's all just like congregate setting, just like anywhere else.
Okay. All right. Does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, I was gonna say you can nowadays, even with I remember years ago the couch surfing was considered homeless, but now if you could say you're couch surfer, but they're like, well, you got somewhere to go, so you're not a priority. You can still get on a list, but you're going to be waiting as long as everybody else. You're no longer going to be a priority. And sometimes people find themselves in very difficult situations as well when it comes to that.
And that's true too. It's like even if you're in residential, after 90 days, you got housing, you're housed.
Yeah.
Even though, it's a temporary stay, but you're considered housed after 90 days.
After 90 days in treatment, residential? Wow.
Yeah.
And full well, half of the time those families are still on, DTA, food stamps, or they're not working full time. They're trying to get their kids back from DCF, things like that. And then you're considered house. So where are you going? Where are you going? How are you going to find somewhere to live or pay? Like it's just impossible.
And the other barrier is that a lot of families have been in shelter. And as a result of being in shelter, they're not eligible for shelter again until after a certain time.
Yeah, you can't keep going back and forth.
Oh, you can't go to the shelter when you need to go to the shelter?
No. If you've been in shelter and say like you left shelter or you were discharged from shelter, how about even if you had an apartment and you were evicted, you still wouldn't get shelter. evictions disqualify you from shelter. And so that's
Wow.
another barrier for families that won't allow them to be able to have housing, and it contributes to homelessness.
Mhm.
And we say that we don't want, we want to always find housing or find stable environment for the families we serve, but sometimes their history is so extensive, it won't allow them to, be able to cross that barrier because of that until a certain time has passed.
Ooh.
But we still do our best to try to break those barriers down.
Yep, I know you do because I heard your name a lot. Any other questions, you guys?
Actually, I have a question. Beverly, could you say the name of your program in terms of those who've had losses, and also just for clarification purposes, does it just
Sure.
have to be a parent? So, there's individuals who's lost siblings, spouses, and by gun violence, and
Yeah.
their family was not reached out to. And also, let me even add to that. Let me first compliment you for even doing that. And I'm speaking from personal experience, where in the 80s, when things like this was happening, there wasn't any place for family members to go to receive support. And I'm not just speaking of financial, I'm also speaking, therapeutic, just a community, just to let them know that there's another side and you can too get through this process.
Yeah.
So now when I hear of different places evolving in terms of giving back and helping others, it's enlightening, because we work, that all couples with substance use, as you know. So even on day to day, when I'm working with individuals and you get to know them, and that trust is built and they want to start opening up, a lot of them speak about situations like that. And I may have referrals with substance use, sober homes, and counseling, but then I'm lost when it comes to advocacy around the violence. So if you could give a little background on that, that will be helpful, and maybe some contact information so I could utilize that.
Sure. So my project is providing a safe and trusting space for children, but families. So it is the family component come together and explore, even memorialize their lost loved one through expressive art. And so as a result of that, I do events. So my last event was a holiday giveaway in December. And prior to that, we had a healing drum circle. And prior to that, we had rock painting, and they were rocks painted by the families and the kids in memory of their loved one. And we have a memorial garden. And so that garden is at one of the urban gardens in Roxbury. And we had a tree dedicated to us for the rocks. And so, to this day, we, continue to plan to do more work in that garden, because, we get a bed. And so there's a lot of things that I have done that is, contribute to the families that are impacted, by community violence. And how about overdose? Young people being lost by overdose, or, kids losing parents or siblings from overdose. So I have a web page, and it's healingbyexpression.org is the address, the web address. And please feel free to visit the website, and they'll speak to everything that you asked as far as contact information. There's a gallery of pictures of everything that we've done. this, about us. So yeah, that's where you could get all that information.
Thank you, Beverly.
Thank you.
Beverly, I
You're
just
welcome.
looked it up. What a beautiful website. Thank you for sharing your story and all the work that you're doing. I just really admire and draw strength how you're able to, take pain and channel it into a positive direction. And so thank you for sharing your story and for all that you do. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, is that it, Jules? You're on mute, Julie.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that is it. So I want to thank everyone who participated.